Story again, and this is one of those stories that did not go up under the radar. This was actually told everywhere, and I'm only bringing this story to light because I I want to say F around and find out. But the more I think about it, the more I really do not want to take this lap, this victory lap. I don't want to do this, ha ha, see what you do when you do this. I don't want to do this because I didn't like it from the beginning. I don't like this happen either because it just opens up way too much of Pandora's box, which is already busted freaking wide open now. So apparently you just want to just like pick the whole box up and smash it against the floor. Just, hey, have at it. But to get to my point, we have gone through a lot of legislation in a lot of different states that's trying to ban books, however they want to say it. Ban books, remove books, desensitize books, whatever. Because when I was growing up, I was trying to think, why does this sound familiar to me? And it wasn't ban books. Well, back in my day, they didn't ban books. What they would do was they would take books and desensitize it, i.e., they would take the books off the shelves, take it back to the publisher. The publisher will figure out what it is that people are having the issues with, write it out of the books, and release the books back with those parts that was
sanitized. Yeah,
it was sanitized.
Exactly.
Marlon, I'm gonna say this real quick before you transition, and only because it's funny. In elementary school, right? My daughter, she didn't like going to recess. So she would always spend her recess time in the library. That's just what she did. So she was one of the things that they had them doing was there were books that were given to them to go and mark out the offensive words in books in the elementary school library. And this is like, let's see, she going to high school now, so this is like 5 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
How did they do that, Theus? Did they give them a list of words, or?
Yeah, they just say, hey, make sure you mark this word out, whatever. You know, and I've heard of that before. I've heard of it. I'll be honest, I've heard of it. But the fact that my kid was doing that, I was just like,
new to me. But this
man.
The funny thing about this is what makes it so funny. So you're going to give elementary school sensitive information to mark out books so people won't read the sensitive. Like,
I'm gonna teach you these words that you
probably never heard of.
That you shouldn't know.
Yeah. Hey, come here, 10 or 11-year-old. I'm gonna teach you some words that you shouldn't know, and then I need you to not let anybody else learn these words. So,
W-T-F.
God.
I think it's hilarious, but you know they started this with like Uncle Tom's Cabin many years ago, right? They went in and started marking out the N-word and all that, and I'm like, for real, why don't you teach people the context of that which you're reading, because then they can understand the story. And was the word used pretty egregiously? Yes, but it came from a time when that was like the word that was constantly being used. You know, and the more you chase down certain texts or whatever, the more attention you bring to it. Like they just did with the sister with the poem. She's selling books out the wild right now.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like the internet doesn't exist and I can't Google what I want.
Did you hear about the difference of, what was it, The Giving Tree? That book that basically that tree was so giving. She gave all of her leaves. She gave all of her wood until there was no more of her. That was the original book. That got sanitized. And I like the ending now because that tree sets boundaries and says, for our friendship to be healthy and reciprocal here, you need to give and not just take. And so I like the lesson a whole lot better, but I found it very interesting, the whole change process.
I'm waiting on them to start going after Dr. Seuss books, because you remember the Butter Battle book, the Stars on Thars, right? The Yertle the Turtle, the Lorax.
We did go after of it, but it was
us.
It was the liberal during the bigger woke moment when we did look at a whole bunch of Dr. Seuss books. It's like, this ain't cool. You need to get rid of it. And conservatives lost their ever-loving mind. Oh my God! Now you're removing Dr. Seuss. Oh my God, Dr. Seuss.
And the funniest part about that whole debacle, and this is why I was saying it's not equal, but when you're in a battle like this, you got to choose how you're going to fight. And the left refuses to decide how it's going to fight. So either you're going to be the good guy, which means you need to be the good guy all the time, or you're going to fight fire with fire. It's which way you're going to go. So what the left likes to do is play both sides, which is a terrible, terrible thing. So they wanted to police speech on some Dr. Seuss books because they said they were racist. And they went all crazy about books that the family themselves said, hey, we don't want these out there no more. The Seuss family said, take these books out.
Yeah, that was like, well, we don't want. So now we're going to protest. We mad now.
Times change.
And the conservatives, and the conservatives, because they're a bunch of liars, they said, oh, they're going after Green Eggs and Ham. No, they're not. They're going after books you ain't never heard of. That's what they're doing. But then the left, where they're disingenuous a lot of times, is the left will sit there and try to police speech to the point that they become every bit as oppressive as the people on the right. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't talk anymore. You can't, you're so afraid of saying something that somebody else might think is racist, and then your whole world gets set on fire. That's the left. You know what I'm saying?
You can't make a mistake.
Let me go ahead and get to the story, because you opened me up to something I was talking to Foxy about that was just so funny, and I know if I start talking about it, we ain't never gonna get to this story. So let's get to this story, and I promise before we even go to the next hour that I will bring up is examples of exactly what you were saying, and I'll just give you a hint that white people that's on our side, I appreciate you. I really do. Do not take what I'm going to say as an insult in any type of way whatsoever. I appreciate your support. But
lay it on me.
Not everything is racist.
Man, you laid that so thick. Hey, Tracy, I like the color of your shirt. That is a beautiful color, Tracy.
Thank you. I haven't talked the whole episode, but that's okay.
I'm sorry. Not everything is racist, y'all. I'm sorry. You really got to.
If Marlon ever gonna play this video,
I want to shut down before 12 o'clock. I don't want to hear you. Anyway,
the
whole story is okay. Red shirt. The story is that in Utah, somebody did put in a request for a book to be banned, to be removed from school libraries. And it was the Bible.
The committee is going to be reading for a long time to read the Bible. They get to read it cover to cover.
This is Michelle Edgley, the president of the Utah Educational Library Media Association, speaking with Fox 13 News back in March.
I don't think that most parents have either the right or the knowledge of the student bodies to be banning books for the entire school.
On Thursday, the Davis School District says a district review committee reviewed the King James Version of the Bible in its entirety. While they determined it didn't contain sensitive material as defined by Utah code, they still pulled it from elementary and junior high school library shelves. Back in March, a Utah parent petitioned to have it removed, saying the religious text is pornographic.
We're grateful that the Sensitive Material Review Committee is taking their job seriously.
Utah State Representative Ken Ivory sponsored a bill that passed the legislature last year prohibiting sensitive materials in schools.
When many groups characterize this as banning books, that really is an attempt to simply hyperbolize what's going on. We're simply clarifying age-appropriate limits.
With that law in place, if a parent makes a formal request, schools have to remove any books that contain human genitals in a state of sexual stimulation or arousal, acts of human masturbation, or sexual intercourse.
Their determination to limit the age appropriateness of the Bible should set a standard.
A district spokesperson says the Bible is not taught as part of the curriculum. They estimate 7 to 8 elementary schools and junior high schools in the district had the Bible on library shelves.
The Bible has always been best studied around the fireplace by the families, where parents can give context to the warnings and the teachings that are in the Bible.
The decision has been appealed by an individual, the district says, who would like this version of the Bible retained at all levels. It will now go to an appeals committee consisting of 3 members of the Davis School District Board of Education. In Farmington, Chris Arnold, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Oh, I got it. I got it.
No, this is on Tracy. Hold on, Theus. I'm going to give it to Tracy first.
This is what I've been waiting for. This is what, whenever they talk about ban this book and ban this book, this is what I want people to do. As a person that reads her Bible, this is what I want you to do. Book banning is stupid. If you don't want your child reading a book, don't let your child read the book, but don't tell me what my child can read. This is what I've been. This points out the hypocrisy of the right. This points out basically that first of all, do you even read your Bible? Do you read it? Do you actually read it? No, you don't. You're sitting here trying to protect people. We have this thing in the United States. I know some people want to think it. The Constitution is not the Bible. They're two different things. I know some people on the right don't want to understand that, but they're two different things. To take your morality and just scatter it around and then say, okay, it's either our way or the highway, that ain't what Jesus meant when he said go make disciples. Again, it's compelled, not make. I'm done.
Tracy, let me put it. Oh,
Miss
sorry.
Tracy, I have a question. Are all of the things the factors that they do not like, are all of them in the Bible?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You have stories there's literally a story in the Bible of 2 daughters raping their father. They got him drunk and they raped him so they could have children. That's in the Bible. I bet you 90% of Republicans don't know that.
You don't want to talk about God.
They only know what's been read to them. But Tracy, first, one thing you said, Constitution and the Bible is not the same thing. Well, it is now. They had the Patriots Bible. And instead of Jesus,
don't mention that piece of garbage.
So, and the other thing I thought was so hilarious about that little thing, when they did the 3 rules, I can't remember all 3, but 2 of them were just like each other, and the third one was about actual sexual intercourse.
2 of them was the same thing.
The first one tripped me out. So we can talk about your wee winky if it's doing this. But if your wee winky do this, now we got a problem, right? Not aroused, aroused. What in the world? Somebody sat around in a room. Somebody sat in a room with otherwise intelligent people.
The guy at the end. That's the Ken.
The one that was trying to make all the excuses, the Republican guy. Well, let's
he didn't do it by himself. Please believe every time you see something weird that happens in America or horrible, it's a committee. There's people.
There are people that but there are still people in this in the faith, and I love the people in the faith. I do. I really do. That still
are they in the faith though when they go this far out?
They say they are. I'm gonna say they say they are.
Okay.
Because it's not up to me to judge. I ain't nobody's judge. I can't be. But
I don't know. But I think when somebody is far enough afield, an observation can be made, right? Like the person who's holding the rope while the man is being strangled in the air could have a preacher's collar on. And I think at this point, it's safe for me to say that's not a Christian, right? I mean, by my observation.
And understand, but that's not the point. I guess that's not the point that I'm trying to make. The point that I'm trying to make is to people of who are like the same faith that I am. I know it's somebody out there that's in the same faith that I am. We got to do better. We just got to, because this is trifling. We literally will tell people, and I can't never think of the lady's name. She's the one that sued to take prayer out of school. I can't never think of her name. Something on here. I can't think of her name, but it's like, and you will still have people saying, well, she took prayer out of school. Stop it. Stop saying things that are not true. When you do things like this, you make us look stupid. Stop it. Stop making us look stupid.
But let me say this real quick. You say judgment, and I just want to make an observation. If I point out what you're doing, that's not judging. I'm pointing out what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm always going to point out the behavior, but I'm not going to say you're not saved.